Yes, sir. What you want to jump into, man? What you want
Let's
to
jump
jump
into
off
this.
with on this beautiful Monday?
Let's jump into the F1, man. Let's talk about it.
Hey, you know I'm always ready to jump
Let's
into that space.
let's talk
Formula
about it.
One was back this weekend in the Red Bull Ring. The Austrian Grand Prix. AB, any guesses who won?
Man, Max, man. You already know. We already know. The world knows. Max, Red Bull.
Surprise, surprise, Max Verstappen with another dominant performance in that car. Great driver, great machinery, great team. Once again, executing and dominating the entire weekend. And with that being said, I also dominated the weekend too with FanDuel Sportsbook. Had my Grand Prix parlay up there. Had 3 guys. So they've changed this. I'm gonna be real with y'all. So this is a big shout out to FanDuel. I presenting sponsor this show, but they've been putting together some stuff specifically for the listeners of this show, for myself and for the F1 fans out there, because right now it's not a huge betting market for this sport. Reason why is what AB always talks about. Hey, it's dominated by this. So if you want to bet on Max to win, it's like minus 800 before the race starts or whatever. So there are other ways that you can put together plays and make money. So I put together this 3-leg parlay.
So let me interject.
Go ahead.
Can you put that parlay back up there, please? Sergio Perez, Fernando Alonso, and Charles Leclerc. You can put this parlay up for every race, and 9 times out of 10, you will hit your parlay.
So Perez,
hey,
he finished his top 6 a lot. Leclerc as well, but you got to think. So in racing, you have accidents.
Come on now, D-Butt.
You have engine failures. You got accidents. Sometimes it's rain. Maybe you get a bad pit stop. Maybe you get bad strategy. Happens all the time, Ferrari. But once again, all 3 of these legs were all like, so to your point, once again, these legs were like minus 400 individually to hit. So they are very likely to hit if none of those things happen. But for all 3 of them to hit, now you basically getting like even money. So I'm betting 100, I'm winning like 90 on that 100. So yeah, all these things supposed to hit, but it's still racing. It's like if the Colts in 08 playing the Texans, y'all gonna have a 12.5 point spread. Like y'all gonna win that game unless 5 starters get hurt.
I'm gonna roll my dice, man. I'm gonna roll the dice on this one, man. I'm gonna pick out. It's just gonna be probably 4 or 5 names that you can pick and you can put in that parlay, and I'm gonna roll my dice. And I used to do anyway in Paul in the locker room, knock y'all heads, balls. But
get your head tore off in that locker room.
But I get it. But y'all keep following D-Buck on the parlays.
I'm gonna tell you what, too. I don't just be putting these shit together. So these my notes right here for my parlay, right? These my notes. So I don't be leading y'all wrong. And initially, so for Lewis Hamilton, I think he started in 5, and he ended up 8 in the race. So he would have been somebody that you would have said, oh, that, because he was minus 440 to finish in the top 6 too. Didn't happen. Carlos Sainz ended up getting bumped down because of some penalties after the race as well. So there are very likely finishers in that top 6, but once again, it is racing. Shit does happen. This was the top 10. So, for example, if you were to bet Lando Norris to finish in that top 6, those odds would have been a lot higher, but I had no faith in McLaren going into the race. But Verstappen won, Charles Leclerc in 2nd, Sergio Perez in 3rd, which he started his race in 15, ended up in 3rd. Lando Norris 4th, Fernando Alonso 5th, Carlos Sainz 6th, George Russell, Lewis Hamilton, Lance Stroll, and Pierre Gasly. So
very familiar faces on that podium.
Very much so. Very much so. All-time race wins. Max Verstappen passed the late great Ayrton Senna on the all-time wins list with 42 now. Senna had 41. Alan Prost with 51. Sebastian Vettel 53. Michael Schumacher 91. And the great Sir Lewis Hamilton with 103. And this tweet stood out to AB from Joe
He did.
Pump.
Hey, Joe Pump, man, shout out to him, man. Y'all need to follow Joe Pump on Twitter. That's if you're still interested in the app.
Big
if. But Joe Pop, man, he tweets a lot of about the business of sports, and the people in the sports, and what they're doing on the business side and what the sports are doing on the business side. So he's a great follow. But he did tweet something, I think it was yesterday or the day before, that again, I talk about on this pod when D-Butt talks about F1. And Joe Pop says Formula One is in a tough spot. They timed up the hype of Netflix F1 show perfectly with a super competitive season in 2021. But now Red Bull wins every race by 20 seconds. And many new fans in the U.S., i.e. Antoine Bethea, are already losing interest. The sport needs to be competitive to keep growing. Again, I think it looks good.
Mm-hmm.
It looks good to roll out, the concept. You got some big time players in it, as we know, Mercedes, Red Bull, Ferrari.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, and I've been saying this again, Max right now is killing the game. And I'm pretty sure at other times, other eras in F1, there was somebody else that was the head honcho, i.e. Lewis Hamilton, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, everybody, there's a list right here, basically.
Yeah. But again, for somebody new that's trying to get into F1, that's trying to show interest or whatever the case may be, like, I just feel like it's tough because, again, you want to see a competitive
parity. In American sports, we always talk about parity, trying to create parity.
Yeah, we want to see that. And I was thinking about this morning because I knew we were going to talk about this. So, like, even when you talk about the dynasties, right? So you talk about a Golden State Warrior, you talking about the Chicago Bulls, you talk about the New England Patriots, and we can kind of go down. Like, even Tiger Woods, when he was in his, when he was on fire on the course, but I feel as though it was still opportunity there that, it was going to be another team or another person that was either going to be able to push. Like, here, man, like right now, where we at right now, man, it's not even fair, D-Butt.
Opportunity. Nobody wasn't beating MJ in the book. And you think about all these dynasties, it's when you got the perfect pairings. When you got Tim Duncan and Cole with a great coach like Greg Popovich. When you got the Bulls, Scotty, Mike with Phil Jackson, Shaq, Kobe, Phil Jackson, Andy Reid, and Patrick Mahomes. Like, sometimes Tom Brady, Bill Belichick. Sometimes, like, you're not beating that shit. Yeah, it's an opportunity if something goes.
That's what I'm saying. Like, not even that. Like, shoot, like.
I like domination in sports personally. So even though I'm kind of new to F1, I don't mind, because when that person does come close to losing, it's like, oh shit, it makes it more exciting. But it is dominant. It's so dominant. Max is so dominant, to your point, that yesterday in the race, he had like a 25-second gap. In an F1, you get one extra point if you get the fastest lap for the race. And he hadn't had the fastest lap. And when you get fresh tires, that's when you get the most grip. That's when you go the fastest. So this dude calls in on the radio, tells his team, I want to pit for new tires to get the fastest lap. So his team is like, his principal is basically head coach, like, nah, like, you good. Just finish the race. We don't need the extra point. We don't want to risk it. Something go wrong in the pit stop. Somebody tire get jammed, whatever. He like, I'm coming in. So they come in. He changed the tire, swap out, go and get the fastest lap. Still wins the race by 5 seconds. So I definitely get your point.
25 seconds, D-Butt?
25 seconds, but
just imagine right now this pod, we don't say a word for 25 seconds. We don't say a word for 25 seconds. And you race the cars and you got a 25-second lead, man.
When Usain Bolt was in the Olympics, did you watch his races? When it was time for him to run the 100, in what, 3 or 2 Olympics at least? Did you like line and watch him? Like, even though you knew everybody knew he was going, everybody knew Michael Phelps was going to dominate.
But it was still
Serena.
it was still a big if factor in those. And again, I understand what you're saying.
I knew nobody would beat Usain unless he pulled a hammy.
It was a maybe. It was a maybe.
He like this with 30 meters left against the fastest people in the world.
And to Marcus's point, that was 4 years. We was waiting 4 years. So obviously, yeah, we're gonna sit down and we're gonna watch that. Shit, F1, sure. What
Hey, we got Silverstone this weekend, baby. British Grand Prix.
Max, shout out to Max, man. Shout out to Max. Shout out to Red Bull. Getting y'all another win, another dub. It might not be 25 seconds, but it might be 15 seconds lead.
Behind him, it was some great racing though.
Shout out Lewis Hamilton. I got him on the podium this week. I got Max. I got Hamilton on the podium this week, and I'm gonna go Alonso. So
that's your podium: Max, Lewis, and Alonso.
Yeah, that's my podium.
All right,
I got Max first.
I'm gonna show you the odds for that. Maybe we can actually put together. We should put together a man-to-man part because that's gonna be a nice parlay. Because
hey, that's what I'm saying.
Struggling,
right?
But behind Max,
AB first F1 parlay, man.
Behind Max is some great racing. Okay, you got a tight race in the midfield right now. You got tight races behind for that second place: Ferrari, Mercedes, Aston Martin. So hey, tune in. All right, tune in. But it is domination because it's not only a driving sport, but it's also an engineering sport. It's an engineering competition too. So when your team is ahead of the game in that department, you're gonna have some domination.